Barclays have reintroduced 0% deposits. Do you have any thoughts on those schemes?
Property prices rise so much faster than salaries. I bought my first property, my credit score was either poor or fair. I had never had any credit, so like it is all still possible.
People often lose the fact that your residential home still acts as an investment.
This is it.
What are like some of the most common misconceptions that there are out there around buying property?
I think the biggest one.
And we're back with another episode of the PBK podcast. Each and every week we talk to a professional in the property space about their experience, some of their expertise to help you be better property investors and entrepreneurs. Today we have Dani. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming. Now, you are the founder of Home at Last.
That's all right.
Do you know when I read your bio starts with you were disappointed that you had to buy a property later in life? Or like you didn't buy one as early as you wanted to?
I didn't think that I could buy a property until later life. Like I had a conversation with this guy at uni and he was like, you can buy a property, you know? And I was like, of course you can't. Like you obviously have to be older, like be like fairly rich. He was like, no, you can buy properties. And I was like, okay. And I wanted to do my own research and then I was just like, oh, actually, do you know what? Yeah, I can buy property. And that's kind of why I started Home at Last, because I was just like, most people don't realize they can buy, so then don't save to buy. And then actually, then I guess it becomes self-fulfilling prophecy when it actually then becomes really difficult because now you've got kids, you've got X, Y, you need a really big house, you need to save a really big deposit in order to kind of get that.
What do you think, like from speaking to people, obviously you've ran the business for a while now, what are like some of the most common misconceptions that there are out there around buying property?
I think the biggest one is that you need a 10% deposit. There's like, obviously there's nothing wrong with having a 10% deposit. The more deposit, the better, hooray. But I think people talk to someone at work and they're like, oh, Jonathan Works put in 150k to his property. I've only got 5k, I can't buy. And that's not the case. When I bought my first property, I put in 5% of a property that was £245,000. That's 12.5k. So I'm always trying to encourage people like, you do not need a huge deposit to get on the ladder. And you don't need to be buying via a scheme if you've got a small deposit. Normal lenders will do 5% deposits. And so like you don't need to have a huge deposit to get on. That's I think the biggest misconception. Another one is that leaseholds are the devil. I find that really interesting. I talk to some people and they'll be like, oh yeah, I want to buy a house because my uncle said that like, you know, leaseholds are really bad. I'm like, first of all, your uncle hasn't bought for 40 years. He bought a really long time ago. Second of all, we live in London. So it's not that I don't want you to get a house. It's just that you don't have house budget and you are buying by yourself. Do you want to buy in Timbuktu by yourself just to get the house, or do you want to kind of get on the ladder, get a flat and kind of work your way up? So yeah, I think they're the biggest ones.
Yeah, I think people have to be really firm with what their non-negotiables are. Like if you've got a Great Dane, you kind of know you need a garden.
Yeah.
Like, so regardless of like whether or not you want a garden, you actually need a garden.
Yeah.
If you've got 3 kids, you can't get a 1-bedroom. Yeah. Like regardless of how big that 1-bedroom is, how nice it is, it just doesn't make sense.
Exactly.
But I think one of the common mistakes I see is people want everything now. They're afraid to compromise. It's that I want everything now, and if I can't get it, it just means that life's not fair.
Yeah. It's really, I think, like sad because I feel like people count themselves out before they realize they've got an opportunity. And then all to your point about kind of wanting it now, people are, I can't buy my dream home, therefore I'm not going to buy. And I'm just like, if I hadn't bought that first property like coming up to 10 years ago, I wouldn't live in the house I live in now. It would have been so hard to save the deposit I would have needed to live in the house I live in. And so I always try to like encourage people, like it's a ladder for a reason. That's why it's called that. Like you get on, you buy something, it's not going to be your dream, but it works for what you want. And then you scale up from there. And like in the long run, property wins. I know like not everyone wins, but in the long run, property wins.
I think it's weird because in other things, people are very much acceptance of you can't get the perfect one day one. Otherwise, given the choice, outside the sixth forms and the colleges, there'd be Bentleys, Lamborghinis and G-Wagons. But everybody accepts it's not realistic.
Yeah.
Your insurance is going to be too high. The petrol's going to be too expensive.
Yeah.
The car just costs too much. Let me get a nice little Polo, 1 litre, might even have to be a manual.
Absolutely.
People are more than happy to do that when it comes to their cars because they see it as a vehicle. But your property can be a vehicle to wealth if you invest correctly as well.
Yeah, no, completely agree. Completely agree. I think that's a really good analogy with cars. Like, just start somewhere, and like, does it fulfill the purposes? I speak to, people that are maybe fairly young, single, and they're like, I need a 3-bed house, and I'm like, why? Why? First of
Yeah,
all,
why is a
why do you
very
need a 3-bed?
and I think that's it. People really struggle to differentiate between want and need.
Yeah,
Like, and it, and I think that's the why is important, because if we say, "Oh, this is what I need," it's very easy to list garden, at least 3 bedrooms, ensuite, walk-in wardrobe, direct access to the station, all of these things. Like you said, freehold. But actually, it's like, why do you need it?
yeah. And like, one of the, when we're like in the early stages, when we're working with a client and we're trying to figure out kind of like what's the best route for them, we will literally sit down and like a whole consultation based on like, what do you want? Why do you want it? And like, our biggest thing, like what I'm trying to walk away from that call is what can you compromise on? Unless you build the thing yourself, you are going to need to compromise.
Yeah.
And I think people just have to accept that. Like, I live in a good sized house, I don't have a drive. That's the compromise. If I was to have walked away from that property, I would live in a property with less bedrooms just to get a drive.
Yeah.
And it's like, I've never had to drive in the park, outside of the street. It's the street that you only go on to live if you live there. So I'm just like, I've got parking. It's not right directly in front of my house. Like, know where your compromises are. And so I was kind of encourage people like, okay, what do we need? What can we not compromise on? What's our deal breakers? But like, where are we going to be flexible? Because you're not building it yourself.
And that's one thing I try and explain to people, because if you even, let's say you find the perfect house, do you know what the compromise is going to be? Price.
Exactly.
Your compromise will be price.
Exactly.
Because you found the diamond in the dirt that, like, it ticks every single box. But generally speaking, then you're going to compromise on getting a good deal because it's so rare. You just have to pay whatever the asking price is.
Yeah.
And people often lose the fact that your residential home still acts as an investment. It's still money that you're putting down that can go up or potentially down in value, depending on whether or not you paid the right price at the beginning.
Yeah. Price is so key. Like, I'm like, the first property I ever bought, I definitely paid like top of the market. I did get it under asking, but it was definitely top of the market. And I think what people don't take for granted, unless you're going to live in that forever, you're going to feel that when you sell. Like, you're going to feel that you paid more than you should have. And I definitely felt it when I sold. And like, yes, I'm glad I still bought it. I'm sad, it began my property journey. But I think that don't be naive to the importance of paying the right price, and like, do your research. Like, and if like, obviously, I mean, I help people buy houses for a living. I'll do the research for people I'm working with. But if you're like, I'm going to do it by myself, you're going to have to sit and do your research. Like, what has sold locally? Like, what is a good price? What needs doing? What's come up on the survey? Like, what is a fair price for this? And then also, I think when it comes to price, people don't, I guess, realize when you're bidding against 5 people, 10 people, it's not going to be under that. It's not going to be a bargain. It's just not.
Yeah.
So I think people come with like, I really want to get it under value. I'm like, there's 15 other people bidding for this. If you think that the S agent has listed this because it's, and they're expecting to get under asking for a property that 15 other people are bidding, you're living in a dream.
Yeah. And I think that's where, delayed gratification becomes important, because the more stuff you're willing to compromise on now, it means the more properties tick your boxes. So the more that fit into your certain parameters of, say you're like, look, I just want a 2-bedroom flat.
Yeah.
It has to be under £250,000. It has to be in Croydon. And I want a long lease, but not really that. I want a decor of at least 6 out of 10 or above. There might be 100 flats.
Yeah.
So rather than the person who said, it's got to have a balcony, it's got to be a new build, it's got to be this, there might only be 3 flats. When you've got 100, you can put in 10 offers, all of them below market value, because you don't have that emotional attachment to this is the one.
Yeah.
And so you can often get a much better price. And that number one rule that we learn in property is you make your money when you buy. And if you can buy for the right price, in the longer term, you can use those savings to be more selective in the future.
Absolutely. I think emotional attachment is tricky. And I think that's why like, I do all kind of, what are we willing to compromise on? What do you want at the very beginning before you've even seen anything? I don't believe you need to see 50 properties to find the one you want. I think if you can have that conversation with yourself very early on to work out kind of what you're willing to take, it makes it easier when you see lots of things to be like, okay, this makes sense, this ticks boxes. And I think also just understanding why you are buying it. So if you're buying something that you genuinely want to set you up for success in the future, and it's like it's really much as an investment as well as it is a home, you need to be thinking wisely. Like I speak to so many first time buyers, and I've kind of accepted that people do not want to do a upper, even though I'm like, this is going to make so much money. It's going to be so good. They're like, but I really want it to be move-in ready. There we are, is what it is. But I was thinking like,
I do think in this market, it's like, because it's already expensive, it's already tough, cost of living is already high. When you borrow, everything feels less. So if you put in a 5% deposit, that the house for £200,000,
yeah,
you know, you're putting in
£10,000.
£10,000. If you've now got to spend even £5,000 on some decoration, it's like, well, that's a 50% more money that I've got to save.
Yeah.
Whereas if you buy the finished product, even for 220,000, relatively speaking, your cash investment only goes up by 1,000 rather than, so it feels better. So I do understand it, but you're still overpaying by 20,000.
This is it.
Let me pause the video for a quick word from our sponsors. Now, let me put you onto something that could seriously level up your property game. When I started investing, I didn't fully grasp the benefits of using a limited company structure. But here's the deal. Over 75% of new UK investment properties are now purchased through limited companies. Now, why? Because it's a more tax efficient way of purchasing. You can claim your mortgage interest reliefs, benefits from lower corporation tax rates, plus it sets you up nicely for scaling your property portfolio and passing on wealth to the next generation. Simply put, it can help you increase your margin. Now, setting up and managing a limited company might sound daunting, but that's where GetGround come in. They handle the entire process for you, from setting up your company in days to managing your accounts and tax returns and ensuring compliance, all under one roof. They even help you find financing to help you fund your investments, your own dedicated consultant, and a completely digital dashboard to track and manage the performance of your investments. But because I'm serious about giving back, I've got a great offer for you. GetGround is offering a free investment consultation plus 3 months of free accounting and tax services when you sign up through my link. Now, this is a huge opportunity to get started on the right foot. So if you're serious about building or optimizing your portfolio, then check out the link in the description. Fill out the form for a free consultation and claim your 3 months of free services. Don't miss out on this. You can even transfer existing buy-to-let companies over to GetGround and still take advantage of the amazing offer. Now back to the video.
And so I'm like, what do you prefer? Like, are you willing to do the work? And like, are you willing? Because I always find like if we take like cost of like the reno plus the price, you're going to make more money than if you were to buy the finish. So I just thought, like, what do you want from this? And that's why it's like, that's the conversation very early on. Are you trying to like, when do you want to like remortgage? What are you trying to do with it? What's the time frame? So then I can understand, okay, this makes sense to buy for this season. This does not make sense because you're actually trying to, if you're telling me you're buying something that's kind of like top of market or maybe even a bit above, and you are buying it and you're hoping to sell it in 2 years, when you're gonna be sad in 2 years time. So like, let's understand like what's the long-term goal here, so I can work out, okay, cool, what makes sense to buy? Does it make sense to splurge on this or not?
Fair. Now we're going to ask you some questions in terms of actually prepping to buy a property. So starting point, if I'm your client that's coming to see you, what are some of the first questions you're asking to actually see if buying a property now is viable, and things that you want me to do to prepare myself to buy a property?
Yeah, that's a really, really good question. I'm really trying to understand. I think the biggest thing, the number one thing is always going to be your finances. Like, and so I always make it very clear, like, I'm not a financial advisor. Once you've had our initial chat, I'm going to refer you to a mortgage broker, and you're going to have like, someone's going to actually look through your credit score and your finances with a fine tooth comb. But I'm trying to understand, where your affordability is and what room we have to, I guess, to see what's the best route. And I say that to say, you might come with a really low deposit, but you've got parents that are in their 50s that are still working, that are comfortable to kind of come on the mortgage with you. Okay, cool. I know. All right, we can either do a straightforward joint borrower sole proprietor, or we can go for like a lender like Gen H that will not take your parents' age into consideration, still allow you to have like a full mortgage term, even though they're a bit older.
And just explain for those that are not familiar what joint borrower sole proprietor actually means.
Yeah, good point. So joint borrower sole proprietor is basically where you have 2 people or 3 people on a mortgage, but you only have one person who actually owns the property. So it's usually situations like parent-child where somebody's going to come on your mortgage and not want to be on the title deed and not want to own that property. But it means that, yeah, you can boost your affordability that way. Because if you are buying by yourself and you've got a salary of like, £30,000, your affordability is probably going to be in the like 140, 150 in terms of getting lent. Whereas, and that might be quite a challenge to get something if you're buying in a town like London. So, city rather. So yeah, it basically allows you to boost your affordability without having to have anyone else on the side.
It's almost, I guess, for people that are not as familiar, from a renting perspective, almost like having a guarantor.
Exactly, because they're not really going to pay the mortgage. Yeah. It's very unlikely that you need them to actually pay the mortgage with you, because you can probably pay your rent, which is way more than your mortgage. But they're responsible for
without
it.
Being the owner. Same way, if you rent somewhere, they're responsible if you fail to pay. However, it's still they still don't have rights over your property as you would if they're a tenant, effectively.
Yeah, exactly. So what I'm trying to work out is like, what are our options? Do you need to live in an area that you can't necessarily afford normal open market? Are schemes like shared ownership, the first home scheme, is that an option for you? Like, would that benefit you? Are you in a position where you actually can save quite a lot of money very quickly because you are living at home? Therefore, maybe we don't need to go via a scheme. Maybe we just need to wait a little bit and let's start the process in 6 to 8 months. So what I'm trying to work out is like, what's the route? And then take it from there. So like
from an affordability perspective, again, some people are not as familiar, and this is really going to help them prepare to buy their property. So what does affordability calculators look like now? Like, what level can you borrow?
Yeah. I would say like the standard multiplier that I would use if we had a chat, I would always go by 4.5. Some lenders will give you more than that and some lenders less. So like, I would go 4.5 just to give me a guesstimate as to what you can afford. So you can do it yourself. You take your salary times by 4.5. That's what they're going to lend you, plus your deposit. That's the total property price that you're looking at of buying. And then I think is the next step after you've worked out your affordability is to then have a realistic conversation with yourself as to what that is going to get you. Because sometimes I think people have really high aspirations, which I believe in dreaming high.
Yeah.
But be realistic, because I think some people are like, it's a really lovely flat. It's cost 250. They've got 200k budget. The seller's not going to sell it to you just because you really like it and that's what you have.
Yeah.
So I think just being like honest with like, what can this get me? And if this cannot get me the location that I like, what am I going to do? Am I going to reduce the bedroom size? Am I going to go a bit further out? Like, am I going to try and buy with my friend who's in a similar position and wants to get on the ladder together? I always encourage people, like, who wants to do it with you? I know people can be funny about not buying with like, not their partner. But I do always think, when I come back to this, I'm married, so it's not that I believe relationships are doomed, but I'm always like, I think friendships are way less likely to break down than relationships, like romantic relationships. Like if you think about your people's longest friends, it's always people like, it's just their friend, their normal, their platonic friend that's a good person to them. Whereas like, romantic relationships up and down. Do you know what I mean? So I just think if you've got the same vision as somebody and like, okay, we're locked in for this many years, 3 years, we're both going to sell it or we're both going to, rent it out, like we have a plan together. I think consider all your options.
Yeah, no, for sure. Okay, so you've done the affordability checks. You've also looked at, I guess, from an affordability perspective as well. When you're speaking to people, are there things that people need to take into account, i.e. if they have high overdraft, credit card usage, car finance, do they affect like how much you can borrow?
Yeah, so I think so. One thing I want to say, I just want to, before I go like all the down points, just to encourage you, because people are like, I can't buy, my credit score's not excellent. That is absolutely not the truth. It's so not the truth. You can buy. So like, don't rule yourself out. I want to say, when I bought my first property, my credit score was either poor or fair. I had never had any credit. And that's another thing. I'd never had a credit card. I'd never had any credit. So like, it is all still possible. Don't rule yourself out. But things you definitely need to consider are your spending, like, and what are you spending? Like, lenders genuinely care, like when you've got like so much money going on, like OnlyFans, like people actually care about that. So it's not just like
by the way, any money going on OnlyFans is a little bit crazy. So much money going on OnlyFans is we might need to sit down and
but like,
do an intervention
really
here.
Think about what your money's going on. Someone is looking, because what they're trying to gauge when they look at your like your bank statement is like your profile, like your risk
like
profile.
how do you manage
your
bank?
money? And so it's like, it's not just about like making sure you don't have like big commitments, like a huge £800 car. I find it very interesting that people take on such big like car payments and they don't own first. But it's just I'm always like,
want to be outside
I don't
the
get
clubs
it
for the gas.
It's just I've never got it. I think I learned to drive, I would say late in life. I learned to drive at like 28. So I used to get tube. I'd never cared or get Uber. It's not my thing. But I'm always just like invest in things that kind of go up in value. But I think the point is make sure what you're spending, make sure if you were to look through your bank statements, you think, I manage my money reasonably. It doesn't come into my account and then immediately it's all gone and you've booked 5 holidays or you've spent on designer bags or whatever your thing is. Be careful. But things like having like a big car payment is going to massively reduce your affordability. I had a client come through like initial consultation, really good affordability. For argument's sake, let's say she was going to be able to borrow, like based on my maths, about 250, all good. Referred her to the broker to obviously get the real affordability back. Came back as 150 because her car was like £600 a month. That's a 100k difference. So she was like, okay, I'm not going to buy now. Fair enough. So I think just be like, think about like,
be mindful of where you want to be in the future when you're making decisions in the now.
Absolutely. Because it really is, even little things like paying on Klarna instead of just paying it off. Like you're buying like a £40 top, just pay it off. Like you don't need to have
I saw
so much credit.
Accepting payments for Deliveroo now.
Which is crazy.
No, but what if I want to spread my chicken wings over the next 4 weeks? I might have a wing a week.
It's really like, I think it just shows the culture we live in and having to have everything now immediately. If you don't have £20, £30 for, I know takeout's expensive now, £50 for takeout, you have to cook. Like you actually have to. Nobody wants the other option. It's like when people are like to me, like I really want to get on the ladder now. I'm like, you have to save. And they're like, it's like, no, you have to save. Every property I've ever bought, I've saved sacrificially for. That might not be for you. You might be in the position where you can still afford to like go on holidays, live your life, live your best life, go to expensive restaurants and still save. I have never been in that position. I've always been like, right, I'm not going outside. I'm focusing, I'm saving, I'm doing something. But whatever your financial circumstances, you're going to have to save. Like it just is that. Or you're getting a gifted deposit. So just be honest with yourself. Are your parents going to give you this money? If the answer is no, you're going to have to save.
Yeah. No, it makes a lot of sense. And I think it's just, I ask all of these questions so people can be aware and prepare yourselves. I mean, I know you said the credit isn't the be all and end all, but what bearing would you say it does have on your ability to borrow and also the rates you get when you are borrowing?
Yeah, it's a really good point. So, because you will still borrow, but you might be now left with lenders who are going to give you a higher interest rate. So what I would say is that if you have, it's not necessarily about like the number per se, but like what you need to not have ideally is missed payments or defaults or CCJs within the last 3 years. Everything within 3 years is highly important, like they really care about. Over 3 years is still not ideal, but it at least loses its sting in terms of being kind of immediately rejected for mortgages. And so if you do have like a missed payment that's, recent, I would say like, is it something that you can, I know that people have run whole businesses about improving your credit score now. But is it something that you can challenge them on? Can you write them, can you explain, I've paid it off now? Are you able to remove it? I hear of so many people coming back to say that things have come off their credit score just because they've asked, which is great. So like I would encourage you to kind of see if you can improve it. But if you've got a not great credit score, it is unlikely that a standard high street lender is going to lend to you. Therefore, you're going to get the specialist lenders, which are going to come with their premium on interest. And I think if you might not be familiar with like interest rates in terms of what it means for mortgages, but I imagine you've had some sort of credit, like a credit card. The reason why like a small percentage increase on a mortgage makes a huge difference in your monthly payments is because you're borrowing so much money. And so you might be like, it's only 0.5%. That's a lot of money if you're borrowing 400k. And so your interest rate is really important. But again, silver lining, because I like to be positive and encourage people, you're only fixing for 2 years, 5 years. It's going to look better in time or worse. So even when you're in the property, bear that in mind. You're going to remortgage. And so just to remember, like if it's not so great now, you're not on the best rate, but you can afford it. But something's coming off your credit score. Get on the ladder. if you know if it makes sense for you, and know that when you remortgage, it's going to come down. Like, yeah.
No, for sure. All good advice. So we've kind of spoken about the prep side of things, and you touched on you bought with a 5% deposit.
Yeah.
5 versus 10%. Now, one kind of is seen as the standard norm.
Yeah.
But they both are available.
Yeah.
Do you have a preference when talking to clients? And if so, why?
That's a really good question. So I believe in leading with the math, always. So my first question is, do you have 10% deposit? If you don't have 10% deposit, how long is it going to take you to save it? And because what I want people to always remember is that property prices rise so much faster than salaries. And so if you are like it's going to take a really, really long time to save this 10% deposit, I would encourage you to get on the ladder with less. What I would say to you, especially with interest rates as they stand, when you speak to the broker, let them do the calculation so you can see at both what your monthly payments are going to be. Because I would say arguably now with interest rates as they stand, putting that 10% does not give you a huge drop in interest rates. And so therefore you might decide, and I'm not a financial advisor, definitely seek financial advice. You might decide, I'm actually going to put 5% in, even though I've got the 10%, because I want to put my money in other things and diversify my money and buy this stock or whatever, or do this business on the side. And so you know how you spend your money. You know what kind of person you are. If you know if you're good with money or not. If that money is just going to go on like lavish nonsense that's not increasing your life.
I feel like you're attacking me, by the way. You said that. I felt like I just heard lavish. I said, because I've been known to fritter away £1 or £2.
Right. I judge no one. I judge no one. But like if you know you're gonna make really good choices with that money, don't put it all in property. Like diversify your portfolio. Like that's what rich people do, right? So I would encourage you to do that. But if you know that's not your thing, you're never gonna do that. It's always just gonna sit in your ISA. Please put it in your property. Like let it kind of put it in property that way.
Makes a lot of sense. Now, recently, obviously, Barclays have reintroduced their 0% deposits. Do you have any thoughts on those schemes?
Yes. So I think that I find it really interesting because I feel like a lot of people have a lot of negative things to say about things that make it easier for people to get on the ladder. And so 0% deposit mortgages, I've seen like a lot of bad stick around them. What I would say is the optimum is to put down a good deposit, whatever good is in your eyes, a good deposit that you can afford, and see that pay off in terms of your monthly payments. However, if you live in a place where you pay really expensive rent, saving a deposit is never going to be something that you're going to be able to do. You're not in the situation where you are able to live with your family or whatever. I see how it can help people to get on the ladder. I've seen different lenders offer it. I've seen people with really like interesting stipulations, like you need to have a 10-year fix. That's crazy. Unless it's your family home. Are you living this with your 3 kids, for 5 kids or 10 kids for 10 years? 10 years? That's crazy to me. So I think just like look at the small print and see like, does this match what I'm trying to do? Does this match my buying strategy before I move forward with it? Also, why can I genuinely not save a deposit? Like if you're renting a 2-bedroom flat or a 1-bedroom flat, can you rent a room? Like, can you save sacrificially in order to put a bit of deposit down? The biggest danger, which I'm sure you'll have seen in terms of 0% deposits, is falling into negative equity. That's obviously not what you want, and that's why they've given that 10-year fix to really try and mitigate against that when you come to remortgage. But I think what you need to think about is, how long am I trying to be in this? Is this going to make sense? When I come to remortgage, am I buying the right thing? You've got to really buy the right thing for putting 0% deposit in so that I'm not going to be negative equity when I come to remortgage, so that I'm actually making a decision that's making sense for my future.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think obviously the negative equity, but also like the idea of mortgage prisoners, because just because there's 0% mortgages now, doesn't mean they're going to be willing to offer it to you. And let's say if it was a 3-year product in 3 years' time, if prices don't move, you still have 0 equity in your property. And then you're now on a variable rate product that's gone from 4% to 8%, and you're a mortgage prisoner who can't sell because you've got no money in the property and there's expenses, but also can't really afford to keep it. So I think there's always a purpose for a product, but in that small scenario, you have to be really careful and make sure you are the person who falls into those parameters.
Absolutely. Like, that is, I think, is the best advice. I mean, like, and you have to really think, like, what price is this property? What are the prices on the street? Like, what can I really see? Am I already getting a bit of a discount so I feel comfortable? Is there a buffer there? This is definitely a kind of property that I would really encourage you to do a bit of work on, increase the value of the property, because otherwise, yeah, all you're left with is what you've paid off your mortgage so far, and depending on the rate of that, it might not be a lot of money. So yeah, you just need to think wisely, I would say, and I would encourage you to put a deposit down. I just think it's just good discipline. Like, if it's possible to, like, save, put a bit of a deposit down, like, have some skin in the game, because you, to your point, you don't know what's going to happen in 5 years' time. And in 5 years' time, you might actually want to be in a position where you want to take money out of your property and do something else. So I just think, like, do what you can while you've got it, in order to kind of set you up for success.
Cool. What about some of the buying schemes? So, for example, I mean, it's not now, but we'll talk about two. So we'll talk about Help to Buy that was there, and there is talks of a similar scheme, albeit under a different name, coming back, and also shared ownership.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on shared ownership to start with?
Sure. It's really funny because every time I post something on shared ownership, I get people so angry, and I'm like, listen, I don't sell shared ownership. I'm not a developer. I think people feel really passionate about it. So, in my opinion, shared ownership is made for people who want to live in an area that they cannot naturally afford. And I think that there are lots of people that really benefits, especially in, like, big cities, where properties are expensive, and especially for people that are buying potentially later in life, they've got dependents or they're on their own, and it might be impossible to kind of get on the ladder. And all they do, particular types of jobs that mean that their earning potential is limited, and so therefore getting on the ladder just doesn't seem like a possible thing for them. I think that shared ownership is a great way, if you're in that kind of category, to kind of get on the ladder. For those who haven't really explored it in detail, it's where you buy a share of the property, and you pay the rest of it is rent, and you'll be paying your mortgage and your rent. It normally starts at 25% minimum share, and then you can, what they call, staircase up, which is buy more and more of the property until you reach 100%. So when I see people talk about, like, the negative sides of shared ownership, I think the biggest negative is that what you won't see in buying a shared ownership home, if you were to compare it like for like a rental property, and then like for somebody who owns the whole thing, you're not going to see, like, a huge drop in terms of your monthly repayments with somebody who buys the whole thing. Usually, for example, if I compare the house I live in, if I was to pay the equivalent rent on the house I live in, I'd probably pay about $1.5 grand more per month to live in my property, because I've got a mortgage and I'm not paying rent. So what you won't get is that big drop of that decrease in payments, because you are still paying rent and you're paying a share. That's one thing. And things that I think people kind of conflate as a shared ownership problem, which is not a shared ownership problem, is things like high service charges. That is a new build problem. New builds with concierges, or sometimes they don't even have concierges. New builds can often have very high service charges. It's not a shared ownership problem.
I think it's the crossover between, if you rent, you get the benefit of, basically the service charges is the landlord's problem. The repairs are the landlord's problem. Whereas in shared ownership,
it's all the responsibility.
You've got all the responsibility without, and obviously I'm not sure how it's segmented. I'm sure there's something, but I think that's probably a lot of people's concerns when it comes to shared ownership.
Yeah, it's true. You are gonna, if something breaks, but I mean, it's like if you live in any property where you've got, like, your management company handling it, they'll have their, like, sinking fund and you will know when you're buying the property how the money is allocated. And so if X breaks, what happens? If something breaks within your property, if there is a leak within your property, I imagine you're going to go to what's it called, the building insurance, which is managed by the building to deal with. So I guess you'd have to work out to see, is it going to make sense? But yeah, shared ownership gets such a lot of bad stick. I think, personally, if I was to buy via a scheme, I think the first home scheme is much better. The first home scheme is where you buy a property at a discount, usually between 30 to 50%, and then you then sell it at that same discount. I think that as an offering is great, because you still own the whole thing, but it's just, you just got it on sale, basically, and then you're selling it on sale, so you're still going to kind of get the same uplift in terms of, like, how property prices rise. You'll still get the same uplift based on what you've put in. I think that is a great scheme. The challenge is there are not loads of first home schemes, and developers will usually choose shared ownership over first home scheme when they're deciding what affordable housing scheme to use. But that wouldn't be my preference.
I think that there is, like, and this is obviously from a developer side of things, but there isn't enough incentive from the government to incentivize developers, albeit small, big, medium, to actually build homes allocated to first home schemes. A lot of times, like, how can you build it, but build it really cheap, but for the same quality, and you don't get as much money? Most people are like, well,
Why would I do that?
no, like, so, but it is, I think, in place. Were you operating whilst Help to Buy was it around, or was it?
No, Help to Buy was a long time ago. No, Help to Buy was around when I bought my first property, but no, I wasn't operating.
I don't like the way all my guests say a long time ago, like everything I do was old. I feel like I've started to get like a real, like, you know, a complex about this.
No, so I was in property when the first home scheme was around. I have seen people win and lose from the first home scheme.
Yeah.
And
Help
both
to Buy, you mean? Or,
Help to Buy, Help to Buy scheme. Both are real losses, but they're one of them is a loss that's turned into a positive. So I know of people who've bought had Help to Buy properties, and when they then came to remortgage that property had now been downvalued significantly.
Yeah, like in the developer world, we called it Help to Sell. Like, because it was just like, you know,
it was, and it's really, so I mean, it can be positive in that now you're buying the government out at technically a discounted price because the property's gone down in value. So then it made it easier to kind of buy the whole thing. Yeah. But ultimately you bought it at
you overpaid.
You overpaid. And I mean, dare I say, I think most people who buy new build properties overpay.
Yeah, because it's the same thing as getting a car brand new from a showroom. You're paying for the fact that it's never been used. And side note, by the way, this is just a general kind of off topic, but for those of you that are developing, refurbishing properties out there at the moment, it's really tempting to be like, I'm going to stick it on Airbnb because I want to cover the cash flow. The money that you make from your £200 a night versus not having that brand new, shiny feel, never been lived in, a lot of the time you diminish your own sale price. So just make sure it's worth the long term, like that short term gain is worth your long term actual sale price.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think when people are thinking about kind of strategies or what makes sense for them, I think you just got to think about like what's your goal in the long run? Like, what are you trying to achieve? Like, how does this fit into your lifestyle? I remember you actually talking about this in terms of like why you don't refinance and then like rent it out, and you're like you enjoy developing, you want to keep going. And I'm like, listen, like, know what is working for you. Like, is this what you want to do? I've never heard of a developer tell me that it's like some side hustle that they've got their thoughts. It's not that. Like, what are you trying to achieve here? Are you trying to achieve like passive income? Like, what are you trying to do? And then work out then based on what you're trying to do, what strategy is going to make sense for you. Because but Help to Buy, I think it has burned lots of people, but of course some people have benefited massively, got on the ladder, have forgotten about that property, sold the next one. Did they make a profit from it? Maybe not so much, but I
think also, like, relatively speaking, and everything is, you have to look at things more holistically. A lot of people that bought on Help to Buy, again, they were buying. So whereas they may have overpaid for their property by 20,000, for example, on a property that was worth 300,000, they may have locked in a 5-year mortgage where mortgages are at 1.9%. So they're paying on a monthly basis £500, £600, £700 less than the person who bought for £20,000 less. When you do the maths over time, they've actually made more money from their relative savings in their interest payments. Yeah. And then 5 years later, actually the property's actually bounced back and is now worth more. Yeah. So everything is very provisional. And like you said, it's all about, okay, what do the numbers tell me?
What does the number say? Like, how long am I trying to live in this thing for? Like, what's making sense? I think, like, my preference personally, for like homes I live in, I can't imagine buying new, but it's just because I would always rather do it myself. I'd always rather kind of make it to my own spec and know that I'm gonna make money that way. However, when I'm like viewing like in new builds with clients, I'm like, oh, do you get tempted? Like, oh, it's just so nice.
I think definitely with like the build to rent accommodation now, where you've got cinema rooms, meeting rooms, office spaces.
I was in a lovely one in Slough. I mean, Slough is Slough, but like it was literally that.
Yeah, because they got so much commercial property over, they got space.
It was gorgeous.
Yeah.
Like I was like, okay, and now if you're telling me I've got a cinema room, I've got a place where I can work from home, and
It's not the end of the world if the rooms are a bit smaller and you don't have the outside space because you've got amenities.
You've got amenities, and then you understand where your service charge is going.
But it's weird because it's cyclical. So you, for example, like know Beckenham very well.
Yeah.
Beckenham used to have loads of like new builds that were built in like the 70s and early 80s. Service charges of like £4,000 a month, £4,000 a year for somewhere in Beckenham.
This is crazy.
They all used to have swimming pools for these like random like 1970s builds. Now they backfilled those swimming pools with concrete because everyone's like, we're not looking after them. Just turn it into like a bit of outdoor space. So I think you have to be careful with market trends because people that want new will always want new. And the new builds of today are, you know, the larger blocks of tomorrow. So you do just have to be very careful with not just how does it look now, but what type of management company is in place? Who are the home builders? What is their reputation like for the longevity of that building? Because it's a long-term investment.
Absolutely. And you can do your research. Like I believe it's called Home Views, don't quote me, where you can like compare the developers and like what spec it's been built to. I think there's a big misconception around new that it means better. It does not mean that. There are like so many, I guess, snags on a new build where it's like I've had people where their drain hasn't built to drain on their all the side of their what's it called, in your kitchen, your units all wet now. Like you have to really go in and like do your snagging so they can fix all of their issues, because this is like, oh, it's new, it's going to be better. I'm like, I think people have a misconception, and I do think, especially properties in the UK, a property built 100 years ago in the UK is fairly sturdy. Like, is it straight? No. Corners are all off, but is it sturdy? Absolutely.
No, definitely. I remember seeing like being out in Dubai when it rained and every window was leaking, whereas we'll have rain every day and you're right, just looking out, it's like, it's raining again. You don't even think about it. Over there, the world stops. People like, I can't go to work. My building's leaking, roof's leaking. So yeah, I do think understanding that not all properties are built the same, in the same way that if you're going to buy a car, you don't say, right, I want a coupe and I want it to be black and I want it to be an automatic. You also look at the brand.
Yeah.
And I think the same thing is going to become more synonymous, particularly in build to rent accommodation. Actually, what does the brand look like? How good is their reputation?
Absolutely.
But we're going to have to segue slightly. I'm going to even have to move my illustrious see no evil, speak no evil monkeys, because I need to stand. There is actually a reason why you were able to attend today. Despite the fact that you're an amazing property entrepreneur helping people each and every week get onto the property ladder, the real reason that you're here, the reason that I respect you, the reason I like you, the reason we bonded is because you have an excellent taste in biscuits. Like a real connoisseur knows you have to pronounce the quits in biscuits.
Biscuits, I love that.
It has to be extra tasty. So, because you've been so great, you have your prize of biscuits. They're already all yours. But we've got to test you live and direct to make sure it wasn't AI. So I have some biscuits alongside me. And I'm going to present the biscuits.
Oh my goodness.
Biscuit number one. This biscuit, I'm so bad at Choco Lebens.
Yeah, I was going to say, how are you going to pronounce that?
Lebens Biscuit. Oh, sorry, the camera's there. There as well. Lebens Biscuit we have right here. Now, this is going to start as the champion.
Okay.
We have to see if the next biscuit is going to be able to dethrone this one.
Biscuit, okay.
And I'm going to tell you whether or not I agree with you.
Okay, oh my gosh, I'm so excited.
Oh, no, that was a good one that I grabbed. See,
that is a really good biscuit.
Okay, so biscuit. This one, the classic Bourbon. Where do we stand? Higher or lower?
Definitely lower.
Get it out of here. That is a terrible biscuit.
You think that's hard? Yeah,
that's
terrible. It's pretty awful.
As biscuits go, dry,
I agree.
Fake chocolate in the middle, too much cream.
It's like they tried to do custard cream, but then got it so wrong.
So wrong. Okay, you're giving me digging. digging. Lebens. Now this is effectively, it's called a crunch cream golden. Are you familiar with this biscuit?
I am familiar with this biscuit, and I'm trying to think what I would prefer to eat. And I'm actually going to say it beats it. I'm actually going to say that.
I think she's got that well off. See this biscuit? This is the... Let us know in the comments if you think this was a good grade of biscuit. Now, I'm saying this biscuit here, I went to Tesco's to get all of these. And by the way, their selection is top tier. But this is the perfect example of doing too much.
Right, okay.
It's like a ginger nut, and then they've gone and mixed the cream in there, and they're overdoing it. But for you, the guest is always right. So get rid of these bad boys, and then I'll go in on our stand.
Hey.
They are currently our number one. We're going back now. A more conventional ginger nut.
Okay.
Nice. It's your. Don't be swayed by me shouting at you.
I'm like,
I'll be fine. I'll get over it in the morning.
If I had to choose between the two, what I picked would really depend on if I had a cup of tea.
Yeah.
So if I'm honest, if I had a cup of tea, I would definitely choose ginger nut. Ginger nut dips in your tea, top tier. If I didn't have a cup of tea and there was no tea around, I would stick with the Foxes just to give me a bit of like moisture on my tongue with the cream.
That's fair. And I do understand that. As a biscuit connoisseur, I understand the biscuit needs to be standalone. Yeah. A biscuit that requires reinforcements isn't a grade A biscuit.
That is true.
So I will allow, I personally, again, not a great fan of these, but I will allow the logic of why
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Jammy Dodger.
Jammy Dodgers.
Kids Party Faithful.
Yeah. So I actually find them disgusting.
Okay.
So sorry. I think they are dry and very crumbly and like almost like a cake, but not in a good way.
I feel like you're eating them wrong. You have to eat round the edges to get the crumbly off.
Okay.
Then once you've got round the edges to get the crumbly off,
right.
Then what's happened is you've got a correct biscuit to jam ratio to consume.
But why have they put the jam only in the middle? They didn't spread it out far enough. To me, it's actually a manufacturing flaw.
I think for me personally, like with like the way I have certain tics, like the idea of having to prepare the biscuit, I quite enjoy. Right. So it's like a task. It's like I've done a little task and then I get my reward.
And then I've got to finally get the perfect ratio.
But that's fair enough. Okay, so the jam, again, not that happy with you. You're not going to win any more prizes, but we've still got a current winner.
Okay.
Now these, Venice's, Fox's favourites, milk chocolate.
They are top tier biscuits.
Great biscuit.
They are delicious, and they would definitely knock off the crunchy cream.
They will dethrone them. Now listen, I can respect this. There is one thing that because they are such a good biscuit, the only make sure the monkeys hold them upright so we can see them. Lovely. Now, because they are such a top tier biscuit, I had a period where I went overboard and I did almost put myself off them because I was going through a pack a day.
Yeah. In your defense, they were a small pack.
And a lot of packaging.
And it's a lot of packaging and they are delicious. And so what they're like 8-10 biscuits in there. I get how you eat in a pack a day.
8 biscuits.
I get how you eat in a pack a day.
That's a sitting.
That's a normal sitting. That is a normal sitting.
It's like a pack of crisps. That's how they phrase them. And I think what they've really done is they make you feel bad for enjoying a pack of biscuits.
Because they made it so small.
Yeah. They're wrong uns for that. All right, we're digging. Okay, let's see what's next. Next we got old classic malted milk. If you're ever in Cubs, Girl Scouts, you'd be very familiar with said biscuits. Absolutely. Grandparents as well.
Absolutely. Malted milk is a fantastic biscuit. It's hard because you've put like the top gold tier of biscuits, so it can't knock it off. But malted milk,
honourable mention.
They have their place. Yeah. And with a cup of tea, out of this world.
Fair. Now, do you know what it is? And also, when you feel like, I want a biscuit, but I don't want to feel like I'm taking the piss.
Yes! They're like a healthy biscuit.
They're like a healthy biscuit. Thank you very much. A woman after my own heart. Good stuff. All right. We're drawing for some big guns now.
Oh. I do really like these biscuits. My kids love these biscuits.
I love the way I just present the biscuit to the world. Like I feel like the biscuit is Simba. And what was the monkey called? Just in the Lion King. Rafiki, maybe? Yeah, I'm Rafiki presenting Simba to the kingdom.
I love it. They are really good biscuits. They are really delicious. I don't know if anything's gonna knock anything off from what we've got at the minute, but they're great.
See, and these, do you see what I will give these? Really good biscuit, timeless. They're a timeless biscuit.
Absolutely.
Any time of day biscuit, I could have these.
Absolutely.
And they're really filling. The density of this biscuit. This, going through a pack of these, really takes commitment. That's a lot of work.
I don't think, I would be shocked if someone could go through a whole pack in a sitting.
Sounds like we have a new event for the next podcast. Now, I know. For a lot of you want to get back to the property stuff, but this was really important because she was a prize winner. And outside of property, this is why you were here.
Absolutely.
Now,
so
controversial Jaffa cake.
I find awful in every single way. I think it's actually a bit rude to call them a biscuit. I think they are a like filled cake that is not risen. I find them awful in every single way. I wouldn't even eat them if I was starving.
Yeah. See, do you know what? I'm not a Jaffa cake fan.
Yeah.
I can eat them. I'd put them above some biscuits.
Okay.
However, there is something about them. They always taste like they're going off.
Right.
Regardless of where they're from.
They taste
They could
stale.
have an expiry date of 2028.
But they taste stale.
But I still double check the pack. And I say, are these all right? So yeah, I understand. They've even fell on the floor. Not top tier. Now, I'm sorry, everyone. We have 3 more biscuits and we'll be there. The classic custard cream.
Okay.
These are all your prizes to take home. The kids
so
are going to be over the moon.
They're going to be so excited.
I think Mum's gone crazy with the club cards.
Okay, so custard creams are actually my favorite biscuit.
Yeah.
They are my favorite biscuit. I would actually buy a custard cream over this. And that is weird because they are delicious, but these almost feel indulgent and they feel like special occasion biscuits.
Well, I mean, they're like a finest.
They are exactly. And I would only ever buy them for like a party. Whereas I do think custard creams are in my house all the time and they are delicious. And I have been known to finish a pack in a sitting.
And I think if you can finish a pack, it's a good, see these 2, I'm going to leave them both up there. Like, because one is sort of honourable, one is your favourite, but different occasions.
Yeah.
But you've confirmed you could finish a pack of both of them.
I can.
Now see that. We have 2 left. The penultimate, the common Oreo.
So I personally feel I've got to go with my gut on these, and I know people love them. I think they are fine, but I don't.
Massively overrated.
I think they are
massively massively overrated.
I don't get the hype. I feel like they're an American thing, and we've accepted them.
And we've tried to be like, oh, because they're American, they're cool.
Yeah, I would argue that Oreo flavored things are nicer than Oreos.
I just think it's just a mediocre biscuit at best. And to be honest,
the doubles.
There's just a lot going on. There's so many variations, so many colours, and they're all medium.
Yeah, I agree.
So yeah, we're not even. I'm not even putting these on the table. They're going right on the floor.
I wouldn't choose them. Yeah. I agree.
Our final. Oh, we've got final. Or we're going to call this our final because we've done a lot. But we've got to finish. Final biscuit.
I love these.
Same.
They are so Moorish.
Do you know how often and the pack's empty?
They are so Moorish.
I'm in the back of the pack expecting more and they're done.
They're really problematic. They are delicious.
It's tough, isn't it?
It is really tough. I don't know whether...
Should we join them?
I think they should join.
I don't want to make you choose unduly, and I really respect the chocolate fingers. So we're going to leave those as your top 3. That has been another episode of the PBK, but also the PBB, because of the Biscuits podcast.
I love it.
If people want to connect with you, how can they find you and how can they get in touch?
Absolutely. You can find me everywhere at New Home at Last. If you're thinking about buying a property, please do get in touch. The chances are you can do it and we want to help you get there. So
amazing. That has been another episode of the PBK podcast. If you've enjoyed it, then please make sure you drop us a like, drop us a comment. If you don't agree with the biscuit selection, I also want to hear from you. Because actually, if you want me to do my rundown of biscuits out of all of these, because I think whilst our guest has been okay, I really know what's going on in the biscuit world. Or if you've got any comments, questions about this podcast, please do let us know and we'll get back to you in the comment section. And we'll be back next week with another amazing episode. Peace.
bye.